Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are tackling a subject that I think, well, it's been on the minds of a lot of developers and honestly, just tech enthusiasts.
It's a really modern problem, isn't it?
It is. We're looking at a stack of documentation that addresses this very specific frustration. You know the feeling, you've got a great idea, you hook it up to a massive large language model, and then you just wait.
The spinning wheel, the latency.
Exactly. You wait for the network, you wait for the server, and worst of all, you wait for that credit card bill. It's what I call the cloud tax.
It really does feel like a tax.
Yeah.
And it's not just the money, it's the friction, the latency, the cost, and then that little worry. Where is my data actually going?
So today we're looking at a tool that promises to flip that script entirely. It's called Foundry Local.
And the interesting part is who makes it,
Right. And here's the kicker, and I had to read this twice in the source material. It's from Microsoft.
which, is pretty significant.
It really is. I mean, we're looking at the GitHub repo, Microsoft Foundry Local, and the Microsoft Learn pages, and they specifically say this tool does not require an Azure subscription.
That's the wait, what moment, isn't it? A Microsoft tool that isn't actively trying to get you onto their cloud.
It seems so counterintuitive, but when you dig in, the mission becomes really clear.
The goal of Foundry Local is to bring the power of Azure AI Foundry, which is their big cloud platform, directly to the edge.
And when we say the edge, we aren't talking about some distant server.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
We are talking about your device,
Shit.
your laptop, your desktop. The mission is to let you run these powerful AI models directly on your own hardware,
No cloud involved.
bypassing it completely.
Now, I do have to point out one thing I saw stamped all over these docs, the words public preview.
Yes, that's a very important disclaimer. In the Microsoft world, that basically means this is cutting edge, it works, but, keep your helmet on.
So it's still evolving.
Exactly. Features are active, but you might hit a few rough edges, which we'll actually get to later.
Okay, fair warning. So let's unpack this. Section 1. What actually is Foundry Local? Because when I hear local AI, my laptop fan immediately starts screaming in my head.
That's a valid trauma from the early days.
Yeah.
But Foundry Local is what they call an on-device AI inference solution.
Inference solution. Let's break that down.
Sure. So with AI, you have two big phases. Training, which is teaching the AI, and that takes supercomputers.
Right?
And then you have inference, which is just using it, asking a question, getting an answer. Foundry Local is all about inference.
Okay.
I like to think of it like a private chef.
A food analogy. I'm in.
Using a cloud model is like ordering delivery from some amazing restaurant miles away. The food's incredible, but you have to order, wait for the driver, deal with traffic.
Pay a delivery fee every time.
Every single time. Foundry Local is like hiring that chef to come to your house. You get the ingredients, the model files into your kitchen once.
That's the initial download.
Precisely.
Okay.
And after that, all the cooking happens right there on your stove.
So once the chef's in my kitchen, I don't need to call the restaurant anymore.
Zero contact. That's the no cloud rule.
Yeah.
The docs are clear. You need the internet for that very first run to download the model and what they call the execution providers.
But after that,
You can literally pull the internet cord out of the wall. It's completely offline.
that's incredible for anyone working on a plane or just with bad Wi-Fi. But back to my fan concern. How does my little laptop kitchen handle a 5-star chef?
This is the really cool part. This is the secret sauce. It's something they call hardware intelligence.
Okay.
The tool doesn't just download a generic model. It actually scans your machine first. It looks at your hardware.
It's checking my kitchen appliances?
That's a perfect way to put it. If you have an Nvidia GPU, it knows that. So it fetches the CUDA optimized version of the model.
Which is the most efficient path for that system?
The absolute most efficient. And what if you have one of those new laptops with a special AI chip?
A Qualcomm NPU.
Exactly. If it sees you have a neural processing unit, it grabs the NPU optimized variant. And if you have neither, it just defaults to a CPU optimized model.
So it's like a video game that automatically sets your graphics to ultra or medium so you don't have to mess with it.
That is the perfect analogy. Foundry Local just abstracts all that complexity away. You don't have to be a hardware expert.
Which is good, because I am not. So, speaking of making it work, let's move on. Section 2, the developer experience. What does it actually look like to use this?
It's surprisingly simple. It all starts on the command line.
The black box with the blinking cursor?
The very same. The docs list a few commands. You've got Foundry model lists to see what's available.
And I saw examples in there like 5.3.5 mini and Quen 2.50.5b.
Yes, and notice the names there. Mini, 0.5b. These are small language models, SLMs. They're designed for this.
So I type Foundry model run Phi 3.5 mini, what happens?
It immediately drops you into an interactive chat session right there in your terminal. You can just start asking it questions.
Okay, that's cool for a quick test. But if I'm building a real app, I can't ask my users to open a terminal. I need to write code.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting for developers. This is the big aha moment.
Okay, lay it on me.
Foundry Local provides an OpenAI-compatible API.
We hear that phrase a lot, OpenAI-compatible. But what does that actually mean for my code?
It means you don't have to learn anything new. Most AI apps today are built with the OpenAI libraries. They know the syntax. Foundry Local just mimics it perfectly.
So if I have an app that's already using, say, GPT-4,
You don't have to rewrite your logic. You don't have to change how your app works. You literally just change the Besural.
instead of pointing to OpenAI's server.
You point it to your local machine, usually local host.
And what about API keys? I assume I have to generate a local one.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
No API key required. The Python example in the docs is just one line. Client, OpenAI.OpenAI, BesuralManager.endpoint. That's it.
That's incredibly slick. It's almost zero friction. What about languages?
The sources list support for Python, of course, and JavaScript via NPM. But we have to give a special shout out to C#.
Right. I saw a note on this. The C# SDK is different somehow.
It's unique, yeah. For Windows developers, this is a big deal. The documentation says the C# SDK is completely self-contained,
Meaning what?
meaning it doesn't require your user to have the Foundry Local CLI installed at all.
Oh, okay. Explain why that matters.
Well, with Python or JavaScript, you need that Foundry service running in the background, kind of like a little local server.
Right.
But the C# SDK has native, what they call in-process chat completions.
In process.
It means the AI engine is loaded directly inside your application's memory. It's not a separate thing your app talks to.
So I don't have to tell the person using my app, hey, first go install this other weird tool from your terminal.
Exactly. You just bundle the AI right inside your app. It makes deploying it so much cleaner.
That is a huge distinction. Okay, so we know what it is. We know how to use it. Section 3. Why would I do this? If the cloud is so powerful, why would I want to be stuck on my laptop?
It's a great question. And there are really 4 big reasons. Privacy, cost, performance, and prototyping. Let's start with privacy.
This is the classic sensitive data scenario.
Right. If you're building an app for healthcare or finance or something that analyzes proprietary code, you can't risk that data leaking.
And with the cloud, there's always that little voice in your head, right? Is this really private?
With Foundry Local, it's not a question. The prompt processing happens on device. The data never leaves. It's physically impossible for it to be intercepted.
It's like air-gapped intelligence. That's peace of mind.
Okay, what about cost? Free is always a good price.
It's a totally different economic model. With the cloud, you pay per token. Every word costs a fraction of a cent, and it adds up fast.
Especially if you write a bad loop and it generates 1 million words overnight. The developer's nightmare. But with local, you're not paying for tokens. You're paying for electricity. You're just using hardware you already own.
I love that. Turning an idle GPU into a useful tool. Okay, performance. Is it slower?
It really depends on your hardware. But what you completely eliminate is the network round trip.
Right. No latency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even on the fastest internet, sending a signal across the country and back takes time. On a decent local machine, the response can feel instantaneous.
And the last one was prototyping, the sandbox.
Yeah, this is for developers who just want to experiment. You can build, break, test, and iterate on AI features without ever seeing a bill. You can run 1,000 tests for free before you deploy to production.
It sounds amazing, but there's always a but. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Section 4, installation and troubleshooting.
Right. Nothing's ever perfect. To get started, installation is pretty standard. On Windows, it's Wing It Install, Microsoft Foundry Local.
And on a Mac?
It's Brew Install, Microsoft Foundry Local.
Simple enough. But there was a note about Mac support, wasn't there?
Yes, very important. It's specified for Apple Silicon only. So if you're on an older Intel MacBook, you might be out of luck for now.
Good to know. Okay, now let's talk about when things go wrong. The docs specifically call out a really scary-sounding error. QNN error code 5005.
Ah, yes, the QNN 505. This is the voice of experience. This error relates specifically to those Qualcomm MPUs we were talking about.
The special chips that are supposed to make everything faster.
The very same. Sometimes that optimization hits a snag. The error usually means you have an outdated driver or there's a resource conflict.
Conflict with what?
Often with Windows Copilot Plus features, like Two different AI features are trying to use the same part of the chip at the same time,
Two AIs fighting over the same brain cell?
essentially. The fix is usually just a reboot or a driver update, but it highlights the trade-off.
Which is what?
When you use the cloud, Microsoft manages the hardware. When you go local, you are the IT department. If a driver out of date, that's on you.
That's a really important point. You gain privacy and control, but you also inherit the maintenance.
Exactly. It's the reality of running things on your own machine.
So let's wrap this all up. What does this mean? We've got a tool that brings AI down from the sky and, puts it right on our desks.
I think Foundry Local is a bridge. It brings the power of Azure AI to the edge, and it does it with that seamless OpenAI-compatible interface.
And for me, the big takeaway here is just democratization. You don't need a corporate credit card or a degree in cloud architecture to start building.
It just fundamentally lowers the barrier to entry for everyone.
It really feels like a shift in the wind.
It does. And if you zoom out a little, it poses a really provocative question for the whole industry.
Go for it.
So right now, AI is dominated by these massive, power-hungry data centers.
Right.
They consume incredible amounts of energy.
We read about it all the time.
But tools like this prove that the models are getting smaller. They're getting more efficient.
Yeah.
So what happens if they get so small and so efficient that they can run on everyone's local device by default?
What happens to the data centers?
Exactly. Are we looking at a future where the cloud just goes back to being for storage and backup, and the actual intelligence, it lives in your pocket?
Now that is something to think about. The brain moving from the server room right into the living room.
It completely changes the power dynamic of the internet.
Well, on that bombshell, we are going to leave you to check your local drivers and maybe give your GPU a workout. Thanks for listening to this deep dive on Foundry Local.
We'll catch you next time.